Hello, Dr. Dana Mays here. I'm coming to talk to you about the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. As you are likely aware, and if you aren't, today the CDC and the FDA said that the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine should be halted. And well, why did they do that? They did that because they noticed this incidence of cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, which means blood clots in the cerebral venous sinuses. No, that's not your sinuses like you normally think of as blood vessels in the brain, but to put it simply. Anyway, so they stopped, or they recommended stopping giving that vaccine, at least temporarily, out of an abundance of precaution. And so what happened? There were 6.8 million doses that were given, where they saw these blood clots, the cerebral venous sinus thrombosis. These patients also had low platelets, a condition called thrombocytopenia. So that was occurring. This was occurring in women ages 18 to 48, and it occurred 6 to 13 days after their vaccine. So, I mean, what does this mean for you? Well, let's think about it. So, the average incidence of a cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, as looking at the American Heart Association's journals, it looks to be 1 to 1.5 cases per 100,000 per year. And this was 6.8 million, so about 1 in 1 million. And normally the incidence is about up to 10 or maybe 15 per million. So you see, the actual incidence may be even less than what normally occurs without even having the vaccine. But we don't know that. But again, they were being very cautious and wanted to halt it until we know more, which is wise. So, number one, you can't take back the vaccine anyway. And I think it was good if you got it. So, now how can you say that? I mean, maybe I'll get a blood clot. Well, let's look at it this way. COVID 19 itself, there was a study published in the Lancet, done in UC San Diego, and it showed that the increase of death from blood clots related to COVID infection was increased by 74%. That's a huge increase over normal. So, and they saw that 20% of COVID 19 patients, now I'm talking about people who had COVID disease, have an increase of blood clots in their veins. Now, this was talking about, it was really looking at PEs, pulmonary embolism, blood clots in the lungs, and deep venous thrombosis, which are normally in the legs, or DVTs. And so, I mean, we are comparing apples to oranges a little bit here, because you're talking about clots in the brain versus the ones in the peripheral body, but we have definitely seen that. And I've had patients myself who've had blood clots with COVID. Thankfully, mine have survived, but that can be deadly in itself. So the incidence of that in COVID 19 patients, 20%. And if they were in the ICU, 30%. So that is over the general, that much increased over general blood clots. So in general blood clots, let's look at what happens normally. DVTs, pulmonary embolism, blood clots in the lungs or legs. Usually in the U.S. we have 1 to 2 per 1,000 in the U.S. So it's a high risk thing anyway. And 10 to 30% who have these die within a month. And this is outside of COVID, so not involving COVID. So you have 1 to 2 per 1,000 per year in the U.S. in general, and COVID itself increases that by 20% and maybe even 30%. It looks like in this one study. So without COVID, 600 to 100,000 die a year in the United States from blood clots. So it's already a high risk thing. So when you look at it that way, it appeared, now of course they're going to look at it more in depth, and they're going to have an advisory committee meet tomorrow, and we're going to learn more. They're going to look more closely at it. And so what am I saying? If you got the Johnson & Johnson shot, don't freak out, because my husband got it, Jody got it, and I've already had his mama text me, and he texted me, they stopped it, and I'm like, look, don't worry. There were only 6 out of 6.8 million who had these blood clots. It was within 3 weeks of the vaccine. It was 18 to 48-year-old females, so he's in better company there. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, but I fall in the category. I'm an 18-year-old, or I'm 40 years old. I got the Johnson & Johnson, and I'm a woman. What do you do then? Okay, don't panic. So just take some slow, deep breaths and be on the lookout for these symptoms. Shortness of breath, abdominal pain, severe headache, leg pain, shortness of breath. If you have any of those symptoms, best thing to do is don't delay. Call your doctor, go to the ER, and get it checked out. And so we do have treatments for these things if you are treated early enough. So again, let's compare this to something else. So there's 6 and 6.8 million. The chances of being struck by lightning are 1 in 500,000. So your chances of being struck by lightning, which is the most deadly weather-related event, but it's rare, right? I've seen it happen. I've seen patients with it. It can be bad, but 1 in 500,000. But this was 1 in a million. So it's twice as likely that you'll be struck by lightning than you'll get the clot from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Okay, I hope that I've put some of your worries to rest. And Paula says, Delaney, okay, yeah, and you got it. Okay, so don't worry. And thankfully we're old, Paula, so we don't have to worry about it. We for once, we're glad we're older. Okay. So, yeah, hi, Jen. I understand that sure, I would just be on the lookout for those symptoms. I know, Paula, you're barely older than me, but we're outside of the 48. Okay. And so if it occurs, it is serious, but it is less than the general population risk, it looks like. And the chance of getting COVID and the problems and complications that come with COVID are so much worse. So anyway, thank y'all, Kenny, Paula, Jen, Miss Jean, for jumping on. And I hope that I've answered your questions. If you have any more questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. Again, we don't know everything. I didn't say my age either, Miss Jean, but I can tell you I'm getting close to half a century, very close every day. So thank God for all the days. Oh, you're welcome, Paula. It's been a rough past year for many of us, and let's just hang in there for now. Get your vaccine. The more people who get the vaccine, the more we can get ahead of this thing. And I know there's the variants, which aren't as, it seems like maybe some of these variants that the vaccines aren't as effective. However, if we could, the more people get vaccinated, the more likely we can stop this thing where it keeps spreading. So I'm sorry, quit spreading so much. And there is an incidence of some increase, even in Louisiana. There's a little bit of increase right now. So let's be careful. Wear your mask. I know people are sick of wearing the mask. Believe you me, I know. But we need to wear our mask for now. We only have about, I'm talking about central Louisiana, Cenla right now. There's only about 10% vaccinated. So that's a lot of people who could still spread this thing. So don't assume that it can't still be spread. So we have a lot to learn, and hopefully that's going to change, and we can quit wearing the mask. We can quit being so careful. But I do want to talk about this one thing before I go, about the flu. Okay, so I've had people who, they're like, well, this is all a hoax because the flu. Well, the flu. There was no flu this year. Okay, well, a couple of things. Have you considered that the flu was decreased this year because people were taking more precautions? It's a respiratory disease. People were wearing masks more. I know everybody hasn't, and that's been a source of contention in a lot of things, but wearing the mask, doing more hand washing, staying further apart, not having as many people gathered inside, all those things have led to a decreased spreading of the flu. And the coronavirus, COVID-19, is a lot more infective and spreads quicker, and people get sicker with less of the virus. So that's why it's continued to spread and why flu has decreased. That's one reason. Another possibility that I don't know, this is totally theory, but just in general, think about back before COVID-19. You know, some years the flu was really, really bad. Other years it was like hardly anything, like a blip. What's the same thing this year too? It may have been a less virulent strain of flu anyway. I don't know. I'm just grateful we didn't have a terrible flu season on top of the COVID. Be grateful for that. So, hey Peggy, Miss Lola. Okay, I just wanted to say that, and thank y'all for watching. If this has been helpful, please spread it. And you know, I, as much as anybody, more than anybody, want to get out of this thing. It's been a rough year for many reasons. And by year, I'm talking about the past year and the past 14 months. So y'all have a great day. And if this was helpful, share it, like it, and let me know. Thank you.